I think part of the reason why I'm in a reading slump right now is because I finished Everything I Never Told You by Celeste a few weeks ago, and since then everything that I've picked up has paled in comparison. We follow the Lee family, a Caucasian American woman named Marilyn who has married a Chinese American man named James. They have 3 children, Nath, who is the oldest, Lydia, who is the middle child and whose body turns up in the lake one day, and the youngest sister, Hannah. They live in Ohio in the 1970s, where ignorance, bullying, and microaggressions abound, mainly focusing on race, but also including age, gender, and sexuality. We look at sibling and parent-child relationships and relationships with law enforcement. Much of this takes place in an academic setting where ageism, racism, and sexism is abundant. Celeste illustrates the link between love and other people's expectations, and how and in what way others' views can be internalized due to their refusal to be uncomfortable, and thus understand people who are unlike themselves, which manifests in the character's shame, resentment, and humiliation. The representation of the microaggressions that I have experienced is heartbreakingly accurate. For example, when I was studying late at school one day, some people assumed that I was the janitor because of the way that I look. They asked me for some paper towels and cleaner because they had spilled something, and then when I informed them that I was indeed not the janitor and another student, they turned to their friend and said, "How was I supposed to know all Asians are janitors?" This is extremely similar to something that James, a professor at a university, experiences. Another example is that I was walking on the Strip one day in Vegas on vacation, and a group of people walked by, shouting things in Japanese, Korean, and Chinese, hoping that something would stick to me, someone who appeared as a foreigner. I can tell you all of the wonderful ways that Celeste illustrates these things that have happened to me, but instead I'm going to read you a passage from the book because I think that no words that I say will do this justice. James, years of unabashed stares prickling his spine as if he were an animal in the zoo, years of mutters in the street, some racial slurs, and go home, stinging his ears. Different has always been a brand on his forehead. It has tinted his entire life, this word. It has left its smudgy fingerprints on everything. But different had been different for Marilyn. Marilyn, young and unafraid in a classroom of men, draining the urine from her flasks, plugging her ears by filling her head with dreams, a white blouse in a sea of navy blue blazers. How she longed for different in her life, in herself. It is as if someone had lifted his world and turned it sideways and set it down again. Marilyn packing those dreams away in lavender for their daughter, disappointment layered beneath her smile. So from that passage we can see that these are things that people constantly every day experience because of the way that they look. And these are also things that other people experience only when and if they choose to. For example, I myself have said before that I can't connect with some characters in books, only to later realize that it was a refusal for me to get uncomfortable and try and put myself in their shoes as opposed to an incomplete or a not well fleshed out character sketch. This book embodies why I don't say that characters' experiences are or are not realistic. What someone may think is unrealistic may in fact be someone else's reality. For example, a friend of mine actually met their spouse on the side of their road when that kind soul stopped and asked if they needed some help fixing their car. And those two are now married. This seems terribly, I guess, unrealistic and cheesy and reminiscent of a Nicholas Sparks book, but that is indeed my friend's reality. Another point this book touches on is questioning and challenging the status quo to promote inclusion and empathy, and thus they are called negative and are told to be more positive. This is something that I've been told so many times, and to see that iterated in this book was just so personal to me, and it was like Celeste was actually hearing me and saying the words that I couldn't say at that time. Everything I Never Told You is not only a challenge in understanding others regardless of whether I as a reader am comfortable, but it's also a beautiful read that finds its beauty in its nuances and specificity, and also its piercing and sharpness that is appropriately placed. I think it's pretty needless to say that I gave this book 5 stars. If you guys know of any books that are similar to this that you think I might enjoy or learn from, or any book that you thought really heard you out and spoke some words that maybe you couldn't say yourself, please do let me know in the comments below. I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much again for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.